Yeah, I can see it live there.
Hello and welcome to this special broadcast from the Hindu. This evening, we're actually discussing a tragedy that India has witnessed, the air crash of Air India flight that was on its way from Ahmedabad to London. But minutes after it took off, it met with a tragedy. There were 242 people on board, 169 Indian nationals, 53 British nationals, uh, 7 Canadian nationals, and 1 Portuguese national. We don't know how many survivors are there. So far, one survivor has been located. Uh, but it's a tragedy that has really shaken up the nation. To discuss more about it, what could have been the possible reason? I would like to add that at the moment we are only uh, talking about possible reasons with experts, but the actual reason, the real cause of the air crash will come out only once an inquiry is done and its report comes out. But as of now, I'm now joined by a very distinguished aviation expert, Captain Mohan Ranganathan. Captain, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Uh, my first question to you is that, you know, it's not often that you see such dramatic visuals of an airplane taking off and within seconds going down and resulting in a ball of flame and smoke. Uh, what could have possibly gone down? What we do know officially, there were 242 passengers on board. There is at least one survivor. It's a horrific crash. It has crashed into a hostel building of a medical college, which was just outside the perimeter wall of the Ahmedabad, of the Sardar Patel International Airport. What we also know is that the pilots gave a mayday call to the air traffic control, but after that they went silent. So what possibly could have gone wrong? I mean, you're an experienced aviator. What comes to your mind immediately?
See, the first thing that comes to my mind before I comment on this, you said probably first one on takeoff. The Concorde crash in Orly was the first one which happened on takeoff. It crashed in flames and everyone died on board. Now, in this, what appears, looking at the first, I had that video which was going around on social media, and a few minutes back, I received the CCTV video from the airport, which a
Yeah,
friend had sent me.
it's now
Uh,
been made official by the
yeah,
authorities.
it's obvious that the climb was very shallow after he lifted off, and also the way they were sinking, it was not a very severe drop, it was a shallow drop. And to me, it appears to sort of confirm my fears over the years of the uncontrolled bird activity in Ahmedabad airport. I've even pointed it out in an article in Hindu several years back, and a second one in Business Line. But the authorities don't enforce the rules, which requires that 13-kilometer radius around the airport, you can't have garbage dumping, you can't have slaughterhouses, and so many things. But none of the states enforce that rule because of political interference. So I had even mentioned this openly once that someday a big airliner with a VVIP is going to go down, and then maybe things will wake up. And it has happened today. And I feel, my blood is boiling because when you hear about 300 dead, and, there's a saying among pilots that if a pilot is dead, bury him. If he's alive, hang him. So all efforts will be made to blame the pilots. Yes, there is an element of human error here. when you look at the video, the landing gear is not retracted. Now, for a takeoff, you must retract the landing gear when you lift off. And with the gear hanging down, the drag, in case there's been a loss of thrust due to bird ingestion or compressor stall due to that, the reduced thrust available with drag will make the climb very shallow. And that's what it appears looking at the CCTV footage. And if he didn't have the gear down, he could have gained more height and maybe cleared the building which is beyond the runway. So that is my first impression of the video. And the second thing is, there is a requirement. This is the monsoon season, and airports are required to clear all grass and greenery around the runway area, because when the rains are there, you have worms and insects crawling around, and the birds come from them. Just bursting a few crackers or firecrackers and things like that is not. They're going to come back because they want to feed. So this appears to be a case of multiple bird ingestion into both the engines, or maybe
So
one.
I was going to ask you just that what are the odds that both the engines would have suffered bird hits? I mean, I've come across people commenting online saying that very rare chance that both the engines you will, suffer bird hits and then the plane cannot take off. But I mean, you're of course an experienced pilot. You would know better. What are the odds that such a thing happens? That both the engine collapses because of bird hits or ingestion?
Well, you have the famous Sully event, which
Yeah,
had
the
both.
plane that landed on Hudson River. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
but
think both the engines
both
went out.
engines. Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing was here was 2,700 feet, and
right.
this aircraft has suffered on
650
takeoff.
feet. I think
Yeah, it
it could
says
climb only up
six.
to 650.
Yeah, but 650 feet is the indicated, but Ahmedabad elevation is 200 feet. So
Right.
strictly speaking, he has climbed only 400 feet. But to have the gear hanging down even at 400 means they've forgotten to take the gear up. Why they forgot? It could be what we call in aviation parlance the startle effect. If the compressor stall or the engine ingestion, that noise, it might have startled them. And in those few seconds, if your attention is diverted, you might have forgotten. Okay, they say he had 8,200 hours, the captain, and the
Yeah,
co-pilot had
pilot incoming.
1,100
Yeah,
hours. But out of the 1,100, remember, a co-pilot, 200 will be on a Mickey Mouse aircraft like a Cessna. So whether he's trained for emergencies like this is a question mark. But they have forgotten the gear, which is obvious looking at the video. Now, with the gear hanging down, the drag penalty, the aircraft could not have climbed steeply, or
right.
so they could have cleared that building, but for that. So why it happened, the digital flight data recorder will highlight,
Will
and
give us
also
more
the voice
details.
recorder and the voice recorder. And I
Right.
saw some media posts saying that ATC did not know. ATC has received the Mayday call.
Yeah,
And if you
it
read
did.
the statement, they are talking of no response from the aircraft. Now,
Yeah.
I only hope that the ATC did not make multiple calls, because when a pilot is handling a major emergency, you don't want any interference in your thought process. So I only hope that the CVR and the ATC tape shows that. But
Right.
the other thing
We joined,
that,
Captain, hold that thought. I'm joined by my colleague Jagriti, who's now on the ground. She's at Ahmedabad Airport. She's just landed there. So, Jagriti, coming to you, I mean, it must be a very somber mood there. Do you see people, I mean, relatives of people who possibly would have lost their lives on that flight? Uh,
Yeah.
Give us an update from the ground.
Yeah. So, Sandeep, I've just arrived at Ahmedabad, and I can tell you that in multiple flights, investigating teams of DGCA and AIB are also arriving here. So, the top thing on their agenda would be to try and retrieve the DFDR. Clearly, that's not happened yet because the teams are yet to arrive. The key officials in the DGCA's investigating team may have just landed, like about 10 to 15 minutes ago. That's the mood, really. I mean, the people and investigating teams just about landing in Ahmedabad. I'm yet to head to the hospital to see, to get a figure on the casualties. But Air India has also arranged a few special flights, including a flight at about 6 p.m. that is bringing in some Air India officials who will also be coordinating with the crisis management here in Ahmedabad.
Right. Any word on, you just said that the digital flight data recorder has not been retrieved yet, but from my own reporting experience, Jagriti, one challenge is to actually secure the area, because when such a thing happens, you see a lot of crowd coming in, uh, there is disruption, people moving all over, and that could actually hamper investigation. That could also sort of lead to loss of key crucial evidence. So, I mean, I know you've just landed. It may be difficult for you to give a fresh update, but have you heard anything that, what is the area like? Have they secured it? I know that there were rescuers and relief teams and emergency teams who are all there, firefighters, but what is the situation right now? This is inside the premises of a hospital building, I think, the medical college.
Yes, yes, and that's what makes this tragedy even worse. That the casualties will not just be confined to the number of passengers as well as crew on board, but also all the medical students that were inside that building. And so we'll get to know of those updates from the hospital. You've asked me about whether the area is being secured. I really don't have that information with me as of now.
Right now,
And
yeah.
people just trying to sort of make their way to Ahmedabad from Delhi. The DGC official was also on a flight some time ago to Delhi, to Ahmedabad. But we're trying to sort of get to know what may have happened. We have some background information, and I think Mohan Ranganathan sir was also speaking about that. This airport is known to have a lot of bird activity. But at this point, that's just background information. We should not get into the spectrum of speculation. But some officials, informed sources, talking about that that possibility of engine failure, but also saying that let's just be patient. Let's wait for the CDR
That's right.
data and the FCR data to come in. Remember, first time ever that a Dreamliner is involved in a crash. Large number of casualties expected from what we have seen. The aircraft took off at about 1:38 p.m. and then immediately after that there was a mayday call, a distress call from pilots of an imminent danger, and within, this is the DGCA's official statement, in 5 minutes there was a crash. And in those visuals we've seen that
Right.
the aircraft just about takes off, it's towards the end of the runway, and then it can be seen diving.
That's right.
Yeah, information just trickling in, Sandeep.
Right. Thanks so much. I know that it's been very challenging for you to reach to Ahmedabad from Delhi. Captain Ranganathan, I want to come to that. I mean, often, as you earlier mentioned, that there's a saying in aviation parlance or among captains that if the pilot is dead, bury him. If he's alive, hang him. We also know that the reasons or the causes for air crashes are often contested because there are huge stakes involved. The manufacturer, their reputation at stake, their safety track record. Of late, Boeing has had major issues with regard to their other models, even Dreamliners, but other models like 737 MAX, 737 NG. Then there's also the element of compensation and insurance. So, because of all this, the cause is often a contested fact. Your thoughts on that? What led to an
See,
air crash is often contested, not, purely on these grounds as well. I mean, the reputation of a manufacturer, how much compensation an insurance company needs to pay. So all these factors come into play as well, at
see,
least in the public narrative. Yes, sir.
you left out one major point in India, because you take any crash which has taken place in the last 30 years. Have you ever found, first thing, Annex 13 says the principle is to identify the cause and take necessary steps to prevent a recurrence. While here, the chapter is closed once a blame is apportioned to someone, usually the pilot. You will never find a blame being put on the airport authorities, the airport owners, the DGCA, or the ministry officials. Now, take for instance today, in that official statement of the DGCA, he discloses the name of the captain and the co-pilot. A cardinal rule is you never disclose the name of the crew. So we have a DGCA who's clueless about what is required in a safety investigation. They're more interested in going to the press, the social media. So here, the investigation has to be handled, and some journalist or media should tell the DGCA to shut up. He's not an expert, and he should not be disclosing, making statements that he's not authorized to. The second thing is,
But sir, the other
yeah,
argument is that but in such a situation, you should give out as much information as possible. Why
no,
hold
but
anything
you
back?
never
No, I'm not
give,
talking about the name. I'm not talking about the name, but I'm saying that there is also this element that, why hide anything? I mean, it's a massive
yeah,
tragedy. Put out as much authentic information as you can in the public domain
okay. But one
without,
day
of course, speculation.
we'll have another broadcast. We will
Sure.
take the Mangalore crash, the Calicut crash, and every crash. I can take them apart piece by piece. How much of false data, how much of untruth is there, where the truth is completely covered up. So it is the way they are playing up. They only tell you what they want you to hear. They don't like anybody who goes after the truth. That is the. In fact, Air India had an instructor pilot who was a whistleblower. He had alerted them on so many safety violations. They didn't take actions to stop that. Instead, they terminated him. So we all think that it is transparent, it is truthful, but it is not. But here you got people who have died on the ground, you've passengers who have died. So the insurance not only should cover, I don't think the manufacturers will be worried, because it's quite clear that it is not an airline fault. It is, not the manufacturer's fault, but if it is the engine due to the bird ingestion, have they? I
But,
can take a bet
but
with you.
Boeing's
I can take a
reputation.
bet.
But sir,
That
Boeing's reputation has been
Yeah,
sort of
it
under
has been,
scrutiny
but
for a while, and
the
yeah,
Dreamliner has
especially
a
the
good
Dreamliner.
it has
Yeah,
got a good
I know.
reputation. And like you just watch, Jagriti is there, but tomorrow you will find all the grass is cut very clean on the sides of the runway, so you will have no evidence that the birds could have been due to the high grass around the area. They are very good in covering up. And I've been in aviation for more than 40 years. I know how things happen here. But this particular thing, if they had taken the gear up, I feel he could have cleared that obstacle and you might not have had such a big tragedy. And as far as the DFDR is concerned, it is easy to locate because one of the images that I received shows the tail section is intact and the
Yes.
DFDR and the CVR are located in the tail section. So it is not that they have to search in the debris, it is very easy to get it.
Right.
And a good DGCA is supposed to have a decoder, though it will go to NTSB finally because it's an American-built aircraft.
Yeah.
But you can definitely decode the CVR and the DFDR preliminary. And like what other countries follow, they come out with the preliminary report within 2 weeks. While here, even after several years, they don't come out with them. So we have to, it is the duty of the media to push for the facts and the transparency and not just follow the instructions given by them.
Thank you very much, Captain Ranganathan. I know that you also have to go to other interviews with other channels. Thank you for your time and your insights. It was very valuable. Let's just hope that truth comes out because, that will be actually paying, that will be offering justice to the victims, many of whom would never have known that this is the way they would meet their end. With that thought and prayers in my mind, I bring this discussion to a close. Thank you once again, Captain Ranganathan, for joining us and for your valuable time and insights.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.